I'm Stephan Kanlian, professor and chairperson of the Cosmetics and Fragrance Marketing and Management graduate program in the School of Graduate Studies here at FIT. And I am delighted to be part of the 16th annual conference here at FIT on sustainability, sustainable business. Let's start over. I really goofed up the title there.
I was just going to ask you, do we get redos?
Wow, totally botched that. Let's start again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm Professor Stephan Kanlian. I am the chairperson of our graduate program in Cosmetics and Fragrance Marketing and Management here in the School of Graduate Studies at FIT, and I'm delighted to be part of the 16th annual Sustainable Business and Design Conference here in New York at FIT. I'm more delighted at the honor and privilege of interviewing Gigi Ganatra, the Vice President of Communications and Corporate Social Responsibility at Nordstrom, and a very special friend and supporter to FIT, a member of the Board of Directors of the FIT Foundation. Gigi, a very special FIT welcome.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you so much for having me here today. This is my favorite thing to discuss, so I'm just thrilled to be here.
Absolutely. Well, I know that, first of all, Nordstrom as a business covers so many of the consumer packaged goods categories that also align to the curriculum programs that we offer, many of them very unique here at FIT in New York. And as a longtime professor teaching executives in the cosmetics industry, I think it's fair to say that the retail industry is the most important stakeholder to most of those industries. And I know in beauty, Nordstrom has always been an incredibly innovative and creative partner when it comes to nurturing and building brands. So we are especially thrilled to have Nordstrom to do this little spotlight on your incredible efforts towards circularity and corporate social responsibility. And I am delighted to have the chance to talk to you a little bit about the work that you do. Maybe you could open up, Gigi, by just telling us a little bit about your responsibilities at Nordstrom and the programs that you oversee in both communications and CSR.
Sure, it'd be my pleasure. Well, I've been with the company for about 5 years now. I'm actually from the East Coast. Most of my life I've lived, at least adult life, I've lived in New York City. So it's been an adventure being over here in the Pacific Northwest. But I joined the company to really transform the way we think about our communication structure and organization, and our CSR activities. And so when I joined the company, we had one incredible CSR individual really leading our the charge for us as a company, and we now have almost 10 people. So we really built the team. We've put a lot of emphasis into our CSR strategic approach, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But super exciting to be a part of that journey. And then I also oversee our communication strategies, and so that consists from our employee communications, our intranet, anything that we do internally, big meetings, leadership meetings, things like that, and then also externally. So our reputation management, anything that has to do with issues or crisis. From a corporate perspective, you know, we are a very vocal company. We lead with our values, and so we often are commenting on legislation or signing on to bills in support of our fellow industry and our employees. So I work on that, and then also the brand PR, which is more traditional public relations, announcing partnerships, exciting programs, our anniversary sale, which we all love to talk about. So those are kind of the 4 areas of my remit.
Wonderful. And I think one of the reasons why, especially in the beauty industry, we understand and appreciate Nordstrom so much in these areas is because, like many of the heritage beauty companies, it is still at its core a family company, and it was founded as a family company. And so I think it makes it all the more authentic and all the more special that those values are really entwined in the brand and the brand image. So, it's something that we certainly understand in the beauty industry and something we greatly respect.
Yeah, I definitely think it's the reason I'm here, and the reason why so many join Nordstrom and have been here for 15, 20, 30 years. Um, we really believe that it is our responsibility to leave the world better than we found it. It's in our DNA. It's incredibly important for us to be a part of the community and support the community that we serve. And so everything that we do supports that effort, and it's a very natural thing. We It's very important to us, and as you said, it's family driven, so it's extremely authentic.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that is really unique about Nordstrom still is that you're one of the few national retailers in the mega market of US retail that is very regionally focused. Your stores are really partners in the community, and you're a pillar of the Seattle community and a pillar of the communities in which you have stores, and participate in efforts, not just in corporate social responsibility, but really throughout the whole community. And I think that's something that's very special that we've lost a little bit in retail the last decade or so, and it's one of the things that remains very unique about Nordstrom. So let me dive in and talk to you a little bit about what you do, because it is so important to so many industries in terms of partnering with their retail stakeholders, on sustainability efforts. As a company, Nordstrom has really set very ambitious goals related to circularity and environmental sustainability. I would love it if you could share more about the process that has led to several exciting programs and initiatives that you have worked on throughout the company, that support circularity.
Yes, definitely. And I think it's important to mention kind of the journey that we've been on to get to where we are today, because so many companies are facing the same challenges and opportunities. And I am really proud of the process that we went through. As I mentioned, when I joined the company, we were doing a lot in the CSR space, but we didn't really have kind of a center of excellence. And we were also coming up to the end of the goals that we had set for 2020. So we went through a whole materiality assessment, which is, for those of you that work in CR, is a very common process and really kind of the foundation of so many projects and programs that we do. And that was a big eye opener for us, because really what the materiality assessment allows us to do is to hear the voices of our employees, to hear the voices of our customers, our partners, our nonprofit organizations, the NGOs that we work with, our investors, our board. I mean, we really did an 18-month assessment on where are we, where are our opportunities, and then importantly, where can we make an impact? Where as a company should we be leading? So that was really important to us to really kind of reassess, where we are, and then set a whole new set of goals for 2025, which is what came out of the materiality assessment. So in 2019, leading into 2020, we set new goals. We have over 21 goals, and 10 of those really sit within the sustainability space, environmental sustainability space. And that particular pillar, we have 3 pillars within our CSR strategy that we're really focusing on, which is, people, earth, like place, and product. And so how that translates is human rights, environmental sustainability, and social impact, which is our corporate philanthropic efforts. So within sustainability, the 3 areas that we felt, we really need to lean into this, and we have the opportunity to make an impact, to help change the world, to help create a better future, was around climate change, the environmental impact of products and services, and circularity. And as we know, circularity is a huge topic of conversation right now. And our employees and our customers are really interested in what we're doing to help that area of the industry. And I think that in general, our industry is we're a bit of an offender, right, when it comes to putting products and things out in the world that aren't necessarily sustainable. And so I do think that we have, we have an opportunity to lead. We have an opportunity to show that there are ethical practices in business that can be profitable, that your employees and your customers are voting for that. The customers are voting with their wallet. So it's been really exciting. And we've had quite a few really fantastic programs that have come out of that, which I'm happy to discuss.
So the other thing that's really critical also is, especially since you sit over both communications and CSR, how you drive that message through the organization. So I'm curious to know, can you speak a little bit to the efforts you've undertaken to educate and empower employees, your vendor partners, customers to engage in the effort of waste reduction?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've got a lot of processes in place, but of course, we're always trying to get better. I mean, this industry is so fast paced that things are changing all the time. Things are evolving all the time. And so oftentimes we're informed by our employees, our customers. But like I said, we created a center of excellence. And one of the reasons that we did that is we felt that it was really important for us to be able to execute towards the goals that we've set for ourselves as a company. We needed to have those goals embedded into the decisions that were being made throughout the organization. And so the way to do that was to really say, okay, we're going to lead the strategy. We're going to have a group that leads the strategy in partnership with our governance committee, which reports into the board, our executive team that we've pulled together to create an actual CSR committee that we report into, and then these key folks within the organization. So when you're thinking about supply chain and all the packaging and emissions that go into that, the merchandising group and the circularity piece, operations, our stores and all the energy that we're using. We've been able to work now specifically with these different pieces of our business through what we call our CAT teams, which are CSR action teams. And so we've created like these mini action teams that kind of spike out from the center of excellence. So we've got the strategy built here, and then we have these action teams that are really led by these individual business leaders. And so what's amazing about that is that when I have a chat with our head of supply chain, it's in her priorities and goals for her folks that, hey, we're making decisions around the business that are sustainable. We are doing things that are going to make the world a better place. So as we're thinking about our strategic approach, as we're looking at vendors, as we're looking at new processes, as we're looking at new packaging options, poly bags, all the things that we're starting to make, a lot of changes around, it's part of the priorities for that specific team. And so that's been a game changer for us as a company to really move forward to achieve these goals. Because as you said, we really created some pretty ambitious goals. And so, my team of 10 is not the one executing on those. We're the experts. I'm very fortunate to have an incredible team of expertise in those three areas, in the environmental sustainability, human rights, and social impact. And they really are almost like consultants to these teams to help guide them and answer questions as they move towards that direction. So that's been really exciting. We also have a two-way dialogue all the time with our employees and our customers. To your point, it's really important for us to tell our story and to gather feedback. One of the things that we looked at and I know we're going to get to this, but as we were thinking about some of the initiatives that we launched, Sustainable Style being one and Beauty Cycle being the other, two, I think, of just incredible programs, and I'm super proud of that. Those programs really developed from what we were hearing from our employees and our customers, and the data that we were seeing come through on, what customers were searching for. They wanted to find sustainability on our site. They wanted to know which products fall into these categories. And so those are some of the things that, we're constantly looking at and then sharing out with our employee base. And it has to be a two-way conversation.
That's really impressive. I think, the old Procter and Gamble adage of that which isn't measured isn't attained is so important in large corporations and large organizations. It has to be something that the organization names as an objective and really empowers its people to not only help find places in the individual business units to achieve, but also that two-way conversation of coming back with suggestions, not just from the employees on the front lines, but also from customers. And I think that's probably why your programs are seeing the level of success that they are.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, it takes work. Oh, go ahead.
oh no, you go ahead.
Oh, I was saying it takes work, but when you have so much passion around that, I mean, I was looking at the numbers the other day. When we first started thinking about sustainable style, which is an area on our website where shoppers can go and they can say, sustainable style, and it's a whole section where we have over 11,000 products that you can shop and know that they are sustainable. And we have a whole set of criteria that's explained on our site as well. But we started looking into this in 2018. And one of the reasons we did is because we saw this data point that our customers, the search term for sustainability was at 54% on our website. And since we have now activated sustainable style, that search has increased by 200%.
Yeah.
So, give people what they want, right? But it's very exciting. And the data is super powerful to be able to just galvanize the company around, this is something that our folks want to see, our customers want to see. When you have that data to back it up, it makes it a lot easier to kind of move really quickly towards our goal.
Well, and I think, especially as a parent of two Gen Z sons, I will tell you, I can share a Nordstrom success story from very recently. My oldest son went on his first business trip and came home for the weekend before flying out from New York. He lives upstate. And, Dad took him out, Dad being the professor at the Fashion Institute, took him out shopping for some clothes for his first business trip. And it was incredibly important to him. And I had not heard him voice this as a consumer previously, to understand where the pieces were made and what the value systems were that were involved in the making of those garments. And I will tell you that we have a beautiful, very new Nordstrom store here in Connecticut at the Sono Mall. And
Yes.
as we walked through, he said to me, "Dad, this is an impressive space. It's everything you've always talked to me about with your students and their research. They're really hitting all the right elements and messages, the natural light, there's space, it's comfortable, it's welcoming. There are places to have coffee and to eat and to linger." And when we got to the third floor to the men's department, there were tags on a lot of the garments that talked about the fabrics, the water usage, the circularity. And I can tell you that those were the garments that we purchased. It was
Oh,
very important to him as a member of his generation to support practices in the fashion industry that he knew were in turn supporting corporate sustainability efforts and also fair labor practices.
I love to hear that. That's wonderful. That is a beautiful store. I opened that store I was part of the opening with the team, but that's a beautiful store. You clearly described the areas that are part, that make up the qualifications of how do we think, what makes something sustainable, and the sustainable source materials, making sure that 50% of the materials are either recycled, organic cotton, fair trade certified. So we're looking at all of that. We're looking at the, sustainably sourced ingredients, right? Which is a really big thing when you're thinking about protecting biodiversity and how we're thinking about, harvesting our land in a sustainable practice. We look at responsible manufacturing. To your point, it is really important for us that we understand what the supply chain is, where that factory is, what the policies and practices are with the folks that are working in that factory, that it's a huge, really important, making sure there's, fair wages, managing chemicals and resource use. So there's not a draining of chemical waste from the factories that we're working with. Responsible packaging is part of it, and a qualification that we, again, everything that I'm listing, really requiring from our partners are the products and the brands that we work with, that we sell, but we also are holding ourselves to this accountability as well, right? Like if we're not doing it, we cannot ask other people to do it. So all of the Nordstrom made products all include this as well. And then having some give back component. We think that's really important. You know, we do believe, like I said, that we want to support the communities we serve, and that starts with giving back to the communities that where you live. And so many of the brands that we work with have really wonderful give back programs that we want to make sure we highlight. So that's also part of the sustainable style criteria.
And one of the things that we often talk about in our executive graduate business programs when we're doing research for the industry is it's also about being out ahead of consumer sentiment and being out ahead of the issues that will confront the business and confront the business model in the future. And, you know, with the decision this week that came down from the EU about beginning to crack down on practices in the fast fashion industry, they are beginning to respond at a legislative level. And we know that the EU definitely leads globally on these issues. So we know that this will be an issue in the US retail market very soon. And it will be companies like Nordstrom that have already implemented these programs and instilled these values that are able to meet those mandates from consumers, because it is definitely something that consumers have become educated on and are beginning to demand at point of sale. Been reading a lot of articles of late about the changing consumer preferences of Gen Z. I don't want an article of clothing or beauty packaging that is disposable. I don't want a garment that was made with the objective of being worn 3 or 4 times and disposed of. It's not responsible, and it's not responsible to the environment. And now, with this kind of legislative focus coming from the European Union, we're going to begin seeing that on a much more serious level in terms of regulation as well.
That's right.
So
That's right.
let me drill down. I'm so excited to get you about your specific programs. As a company innovating in this space, I would just love to hear you talk about or highlight some of the programs, Gigi, that you feel are most successful and will have the biggest impact going forward. And certainly feel free to highlight any programs that you and your team have worked on. I know there are many.
There are. I mean, I mentioned sustainable style. I think that, you know, that was one of the first programs that we got off the ground, which was super important. As I said, you know, it was driven by, you know, to your point, consumers' demand, right? That's what they wanted to see. We just recently launched a beauty category within sustainable style. When we first launched, it was accessories, apparel, shoes, but we didn't have beauty. So now we have that as a piece of it as well, which is super, super exciting. And we've also expanded it into our Canadian business. So we feel like that program is just providing the information to our customers. If you want, like you were saying, we've got the product. If you want to shop sustainability, here it is, and here's all the criteria, and we just make it really easy for the customers. So that's a big one for us. We also started a few years ago as part of our circularity initiatives, a give back program. So anytime you receive a package from us, if you've ordered something online, you can actually print a label and use the box that you received your clothing in or whatever you purchase to send things back to us. So it's a recycling program where it's paid for. We pay for the shipping. You print it off the website. You can stuff that box as much as possible, and it's called the Give Back Box. And we have partners. We've partnered with Goodwill on that on the West Coast. And it's been just a tremendous program for us. We're seeing a lot of adoption of that, and we're going to continue to build that out. One of the other things that we've done from a circularity perspective is to think about, as I mentioned, that we're getting beauty product into sustainable style. Well, we're also thinking about how do you recycle, you know, the beauty product that you receive. There's that the beauty industry produces a lot of bottles and a lot of products that can't necessarily be recycled in your traditional recycling bin, right? We know folks are doing their part in their homes, in their cities, but a lot of these things aren't taken back. They don't have the systems that need to process in local communities. And so we've partnered with an external recycling company that is now helping us take back recycled products in all of our stores. So we launched this in 2019, which was a huge, just a really big initiative for us that got tons of accolades from our customers. I mean, they just absolutely love it. And this month we are now extending Beauty Cycle program into all of our rack stores. So now there are 300 locations around the country, either Nordstrom, Nordstrom Rack, or a Nordstrom local, where you can take in any beauty product. You can take in toothpaste if you want. And we have a box right in the beauty department where you can drop it off. So it's really, I mean, we've set some impressive goals. We want to recycle at least 100 tons of beauty packaging by 2025. So we're right on our way with that. We're really excited about that. And our recycling goal for our clothing donation program, we've actually already met the goal that we set for 2025, which is really incredible. We wanted to recycle 250 tons. We've done that. So we're thinking about, okay, let's raise that goal. Let's recycle more. What else can we do? So those programs, I think Sustainable Style, Beauty Cycle, our clothing donation and take back program, it's called Give Back Box, have been really, really successful and important. And then there's also the piece about, just to your point, reinventing the things that you have, right? I mean, a little known fact, but Nordstrom is the #1 employer of tailors around the country. And so we encourage our folks, like, if you have a pair of jeans that you want to create, you know, into a jean skirt or a jean or into shorts or whatever, instead of necessarily buying a new pair of shorts, bring in your old jeans. We'll create those for you. You know, you've changed sizes over the last 2 years from what I think most of us have put on that freshman 15, you know, and you need things taken in or taken out. Instead of buying something new, bring them into the store. And you can do that anywhere. You can bring it into a rack, you can bring it into a local, you can bring it into a Nordstrom. But our tailors really are a part of that ecosystem that we're trying to create around circularity, you know, personalization, patching, just reinventing some of the things that you already have in addition to repairing or sizing. So those are a couple of programs that we're really excited about.
And I love the commitment that Nordstrom has to the whole kind of life cycle of the relationship with the consumer. I know when we take our executive students out to California for their domestic field study, we usually travel abroad to about 6 markets for them to learn the nuances of global culture, but we also take them to California to meet with people that are disrupting the industry in Silicon Valley, and we go to LA to look at retail innovation. And one of the things that we always insist that our beauty executives in the graduate program look at is the Nordstrom concierge service and clienteling store in Los Angeles, where it's not about product, it's about being a part of the consumer's lifestyle. And you know, that fits so perfectly with what you were just mentioning in the example. You've seen a lot of luxury companies over the last few years also encourage consumers to bring back product, heritage product, for repair, upcycling, for individual personalization, creation. I think it's so important for retailers to be a part of that process and conversation, rather than merely be the place where consumers go to buy a brand new product.
Totally agree. And, you know, we don't pretend to have all the answers, right? There's a lot of really fantastic, to your point, Silicon Valley companies, organizations that we are actually investing in. That's another one of our goals, is to really commit to furthering some of these industry expertise so that we can get closer to the answers that we need in regards to producing a more circular economy. One of the organizations that we work with is actually based in New York City. It's called Fab Scrap. And they're kind of a one-stop shop textile reuse and recycling resource, which many of the brands you've heard of, J. Crew, Marc Jacobs, work with. And so we're really proud of that partnership. And we have many of those partnerships where, you know, we give them grants every year so that they can further the work that they're doing that we can then use implement into where we are. And we believe that's really important. It's not just about the programs that we develop internally, but also, again, sharing that expertise, sharing those best practices with the industry, and then really investing in the organizations that are going to make a difference and find solutions because of the expertise that they have.
It's just so important for the retail community to lead on these issues. Not that I'm advocating that brands didn't have a role to play, but when we gather together the young executives in the program every year to do their graduation research and present to industry on big problems that are coming 5-10 years down the pike for industry, we always stress to them the importance of the retail stakeholders as a part of those conversations in order to ensure the implementation and success of whatever their recommendations are to industry. I mean, having grown up in Southern California, another great example from the fashion industry is the denim industry. As a retailer that stocks multiple brands of denim clothing, it takes that retail stakeholder to build and implement certain standards to push the industry. I mean, we know that denim is a huge user of water in order to produce clothing. And it's so important that, we have the partnership of the retailers in helping to communicate that to the consumer, helping to educate the consumer, so that if there is a price differential, the consumer understands what they're investing in terms of helping the environment.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned denim. We're actually, for Earth Month, which starts today, we have in our New York store, which I hope you can all visit if you haven't already. You're exactly right. Denim is something that, we all wear, we all like to use, and there's some challenges with it, right? There's high values of cotton, water, dye. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities to be better. And so one of the things that we've done is we've kind of gone out to all our partners and said, okay, who's doing this the best, right? Who's really thinking about innovative ways to produce denim that has much less of an impact on Earth and is really has more of a sustainable practice. And so we've brought together a group of brands that we're going to be highlighting on the first floor of our New York store, called Center Stage is what we call it. So we invite you all to come and check it out. But to your point, we want to be a platform and a voice for the industry of do-gooders, right? If you're doing something that's fantastic, if you're furthering, pushing the needle on where we need to go from a sustainable practice perspective, we want to highlight you. We want to introduce you to our customers if they don't know this yet, and we want to be able to really create awareness for our partners in this arena because we think it's really important.
And such a great way for the retailer to support the brand and for the brands to support her.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
Oh, I was going to
I'm
talk
loving
about
all these examples.
The other thing, I mean, we're talking about the circularity piece and the products and the impacts it has. There's also all of the packaging, right? So when you're thinking about how much packaging goes into all of that's something that we're really digging into. And I'm really excited to announce that this month we are integrating paper bags into all of our rack stores. So we're actually taking plastic completely out of that. So, that seems like an easy decision, but it was actually something that, because you buy so far in advance and we were so far into the plastic bag, it's taken almost 2.5 years to get out of it. But for the first time, this month, actually, we're going to start having all paper bags in our rack, which it's enabling us to get to our goal, which we set of reducing 50% of single-use plastic in our ecosphere. And so that's a huge milestone for us. And we've also changed our poly bags. We've looked at the weight of our poly bags. So just by lowering that consistency, we're taking out like 800 tons of plastic from, our sphere just by that one decision. So, going back to what I mentioned before, when you're integrating the idea of sustainability into these individual teams, one little decision one little, you know what, instead of buying from this vendor, we're going to shift to this vendor, can make a tremendous impact on our company, on the world, with our consumers. So that's also another piece that we're really thinking about is, you know, how do we really consume less plastic, really take down that single-use plastic use. That's a big initiative for us.
And when you talk about packaging, you know, I have to, you know, very much fess up to say that the beauty industry is a big offender in that particular realm, and that's something that we struggle with constantly in the research that we do with industry. We are looking for ways to disrupt the model of luxury branding that doesn't involve 2 and 3 layers of outer packaging. It is possible for the consumer to take cues and hints about what's in the bottle and the quality of the ingredients from the design of the primary packaging. And oftentimes when you ask consumers, they're happy to go without the secondary and tertiary packaging
Mhm.
because they don't want to have to dispose of it at home. And when we take our students overseas, we see the leadership that's happening in markets like Japan, where you go into stores and there is reusable packaging for things like shampoos, where you can buy foil reusable packaging that you can take in and be refilled, and people are happy to do without the secondary and tertiary packaging because they've already invested in the brand as a consumer.
That's right. I have a fun stat for you. More than 120 billion units of plastic packaging are produced just in the beauty industry,
That's
and only
painful.
9% gets recycled.
It's painful, Gigi.
So
We're working on it. We're
recycle.
working on it. I'm doing my part. We have about 400 graduates of the program, and they're rising through the ranks of industry with good intention and good values, and very proud of them. We have 4 CMOs this year, and a new head of sustainability in the consumer package division at L'Oreal, and
That's
they're
amazing.
making their mark. And I think that it's a generational mindset shift, and that they will make change, and they do understand how important it is. But I think it is a huge paradigm shift for the beauty industry.
It's absolutely critical. And you know, to your point, we were the first retailer to launch Beauty Cycle. We want everybody to do it. You know,
Absolutely.
like everybody needs to follow suit. To be able to, you know, bring in my beauty products, whether I bought them at Nordstrom or not, when I am in the store shopping, is incredible because there's
Right.
no other way for me to recycle those.
Right. And it brings your customers in store.
Yeah,
It's a win for everyone.
win for everyone.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All
Absolutely.
right, I could go on forever and ever, but I know we have a time limit. So I want to just close by asking you, could you share your thoughts? I'm so impressed with what you've done. And as I said, it's such an important role for the retailers to play in setting the tone and making the conversation one that is commonplace in the boardroom and with the brands, and providing them with the support and the consumer education that allows them to make these changes. So I wonder if you could, as we conclude, share your thoughts. Um, Retail brands, consumers can all create a pathway forward that allows for growth. How can we do more to reduce environmental impact, and what's in store next for Nordstrom?
Well, I think, you know, the carbon emissions, right? I mean, we have got to lower our carbon emissions as an industry. And to your point, that this legislation, there's a New York legislation, the Fashion Pact that was just proposed 2 months ago, that we're looking at. It is coming, and folks need to get ready. So one of the goals that we've set that we're really working towards now is setting a scope 3 science-based target. So we've got scope 1 and scope 2. You know, we just finished an assessment, so we know where we are. We need to reduce our emissions by 42% just within scope 1 and scope 2. And then we're going to go through the work this year of really understanding what is our scope 3 emissions, which is the supply chain, right? It's the supply chain of all the products and the things that we buy, right? So it's not the things that we make. It's not the things that we have control on of with our stores and our shipping and things like that. It's actually the product that comes to us. What is the supply chain of that product? What went into making that? So it's really important for us to set a science-based target, which we're doing this year. Industry standard at not even a year ago was to really get to that 2% emission. And that has since been lowered to 1.5. So the industry is already shifting. And that is, that it's going to be one of the biggest challenges and also opportunities that we have as an organization to really make an impact. And so, I encourage all of you out there, carbon emissions is a challenge that we can't face that alone. We as an industry need to come together, hold hands, and start working toward that 1.2, 1.5.
Gigi, I cannot thank you enough on behalf of the college. And also, it's just been such a personal privilege to talk to these sustainability at Nordstrom. A lot of people, many of these talk about what is the future in the industry and the role in society for department stores. I think you just wrote that looks like, and it must be what your team and what Nordstrom has accomplished in this area. And it's been such a pleasure having you share these insights and practices as part of our Sustainable Business and Design Conference here at FIT. And this is where we're proud to have them sitting on FIT Foundation Board. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Stephen. This has been so fun. And I am a big fan of everything that FIT is doing around their sustainability programs, the council, this conference. It's just, I'm honored to be here and just really appreciate it. Thank you so much.